He's a Republican candidate for Virginia's 10th Congressional District, and he joins us now. Welcome, Captain. Good to see you. Thank you for what a pleasure that must have been to have such a successful governor come out campaigning for you, no?
Absolutely, David. I mean, the governor was there, as well as Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears, who's also
great.
an immigrant herself as well from Jamaica.
Both immigrants. She, of course, is a Marine as well. And I have to ask you, by the way, your family immigrated from Vietnam, from communist Vietnam in 1975. I understand you were a citizen at the time that you signed up for the military, but you really earned your citizenship. What do you think of all of the illegal immigrants coming over the border without being forced to do anything in terms of trying to become a citizen of this great country?
Well, this country gives you this ladder of opportunity, but you still have to climb up yourself. And you can't ask for the American dream if you don't embrace the American laws, right? I mean, so people like myself and Winsome Sears, and as well as your son, you know, he's done great things for this country to earn his citizenship as well. So, I mean, like I said, we love this country and we embrace the laws, and we just want the American dream just like everybody else. I
should mention, by the way, it's not about me, it's about you. But my son my stepson is an immigrant from Nicaragua. He came here when he was 7. Joined the Marine Corps right out of high school, essentially, and he's been in for 20 years. And he became a citizen in Afghanistan. Now, you served in Afghanistan as well. When you saw what happened with our horrible withdrawal from that country, did that have anything to do, the fact that you served there and seeing how terrible the withdrawal went, did that have anything to do with kind of compelling you to run for office?
Yes, sir, it did. I mean, you know, just watching mothers hand babies to Marines, it's just very similar to what happened in Vietnam. And, you know, I left there in January of 2021, and it was stable at the time. And we had a plan to maintain the peace there, and it just fell apart under Joe Biden's leadership.
By the way, your family left Vietnam, had to escape from Vietnam in 1975. How similar did the withdrawal from Afghanistan resemble our withdrawal from Vietnam?
Oh, yeah, it was exactly the same way. I mean, just you saw the pictures of helicopters taken off from the top of embassy buildings. I mean, it was just complete debacle. This should have never happened. And we sacrificed 20 years and thousands of lives over there for what, right? Because Joe Biden just let it fall apart.
Yeah, the way it happened was terrible. But the way so much of the policies, I mean, frankly, I think a lot of these economic policies would have failed on their own. But again, the way they've been carried out and the timing, you know, coming right out of the recession from the pandemic, where we were beginning to get back on our feet, but then kind of keeping people at home with all of these trillion-dollar programs and et cetera, which hurt the economy as well. How would you assess this administration's dealing with the economy right now?
Oh my gosh, I mean, it's a shambles. So right now, 8.3% inflation. So when I wrote the Navy's budget, we always expect 2% inflation every year. So that's a delta of 6.3%. If you look at the DoD's budget of $700 billion, that's a $45 billion deficit. Can you imagine running a business where right off the bat you lose $45 billion? I mean, that's 4 aircraft carriers. That's 35 guided missile destroyers. That's 350 F-35 Joint Strike Fighters. Do you think we need that right now in the South China Sea?
You know, you mentioned you're dealing with the Navy's budget. It has a budget of about $140 billion. How much did that experience? I know that the military is more efficient than a lot of bureaucracies, but it's still a bureaucracy. How much did that inform you about the way the government deals with our money?
Oh, yes. But I mean, but first of all, when we write the budget, every ad you also have an offset. Right? But what this federal government does is they put a bunch of ads, but they have no offsets. Basically, they have no way to balance this budget. And that's what we need to do in the federal government. We need to give the people a balanced budget. That's our job. And that's what I plan to do in Congress.
Now, one of the focuses of our economy right now is what's happening with energy. The administration thinks it's a good job that they're doing, switching us over to renewable resources, but a lot of people are not ready for that. The technology isn't there for that, but we're getting off of fossil fuels before we're ready to make that transition. A lot of people think it really is a national security issue at this point, particularly when you think of how dependent the military is on fossil fuels. And we're running into shortages going into the winter. What would you do to turn things around on the energy front?
That's a great question. So right now, our strategic petroleum reserve is at 50%. But what's even scarier is the diesel, right? Diesel fuel, we're less than 20 days of diesel fuel in this country. In fact, some of the gas stations here are putting up signs saying no more diesel fuel. This is where all the trucks that carry our goods, as well as the trains, right? More than 90% of our goods in this country are carried by trains, run on, as well as ambulances, fire trucks, and emergency generators for hospitals and data centers. They're going to cripple this country. And the first thing I need to do is to ensure that anytime the President of the United States dips into the strategic petroleum reserves, he needs to get Congress's permission. The same way you would need Congress's permission if you're going to put troops in the line of fire. You need to get Congress's permission if you want to dip into the strategic petroleum reserves.
Finally, I got to ask about education, because that's something that Governor Youngkin really ran on. That led him to victory. Do you support what he is doing in Virginia to give parents more control over their kids' education?
Oh, wholeheartedly, sir. I mean, again, when I came to this country, my parents told me one thing. They can take away your money, they can take away your position in life, but they can never take away the knowledge that's in your head. So they push for education. And now what we're doing is we're really crippling our children. The NEAP gave their report card, and Virginia is failing in all aspects. The lowest ACT scores in 30 years, reading comprehension is the lowest since 1990, and our kids are not learning math and science and arts and all the important stuff. They're just learning pronouns. And so I wholeheartedly support the governor, and I want to make sure that we take care of our children.
Well, Captain Hung Cao, it's a pleasure to meet you. I've heard a lot about you. Thank you for your 25 years of service in the Special Forces. I mean, that's really an extraordinary service record that I'm sure your family is proud of, and you should be as well. Thank you for being here, and best of luck to you.